Wanted to make my film because I thought it'd be the best medium to portray what my family and what I went through and trying to get care from my mom. I had audio and visual evidence already on my camera, on my iPhone to use to help highlight just the terrible things and the experiences that we had in dealing with our doctors and dealing with counselors and the police. Through the film, I think it conveys very well as opposed to just writing like I do on my blog in a more dramatic way, in a more accurate way too. Just the difficulties and the emotional and human side of it. Two of the last 3 years or 4 years, Mom, where were you living?
Different homes.
Yeah, and what else?
The streets.
That wasn't good, huh?
No.
Nope.
Did you know you were going to do a film when your mom was still alive?
So, at times I would think about doing a film. I would think about using film and or video to document just the difficulties that we had and trying to get her help as a way to, in an immediate sense, the hope was in a way to get her help from the county, from authorities. And so I would fantasize or think about that as a strategy, as our families are forced to do, just try to figure out whatever way to try to get help for our family members. So that's why I had some video I was documenting at that point. My mom was living with me, so I was already documenting our experience and interviewing her. So more directly, not till after she passed, was I thinking more seriously about doing the film, and then I was able to do that through my work, my sabbatical.
What has the response to your film been so far?
The response has been, I think, pretty good. I'm happy with it. Nobody's complained about it or at least criticized it. So that also probably is because I haven't received lots of views on it, just based on the number of views on YouTube. I knew it wouldn't attract a lot of attention. But yeah, the reviews have been, or the response has been good. Work colleagues and friends, for example, have been very supportive, have friends I haven't talked to in years, seen them on Facebook, and they made a point to contact me personally and tell me how much they liked it and to express their empathy and their sympathy, condolences with what I went through. So that was very nice. Through advocacy, through social media, a lot of these being family members, of course, and they've also contacted me and told me that they enjoyed the film, appreciated it, have promoted it in their own circles, activist circles. So family advocates and that community has been very supportive. And other things and other comments made by strangers. So somebody on Twitter contacted me who watched the film, and we communicated a little bit. Then it turned out she liked it so much she shared it with her mom. And I knew at the time she was from Fresno. She told me that right away. Me being from Fresno, she saw that connection, made that connection. My mom being raised there. And she actually showed it with her mom, or shared it with her mom, and it turns out her mom actually went to school with my mom, went to high school with my mom. She was a grade older than my mom, she said, and she didn't know my mom exceptionally well or too well. They weren't close friends, but she remembered my mom fondly. She said my mom was was funny and charming and smart, and she shared that she was touched by what she saw and heartbroken too by what my mom had to go through. So.
Were there things you were unable to do due to the pandemic and other restrictions?
Yeah, there were a number of things I wasn't able to do. So originally I wanted to go to Washington, D.C. and maybe get a politician to speak on mental health care reform. Plan was to also, in going to D.C., I was hoping to interview Peter Earley, who is a national best-selling author who is also a mental health advocate. He had agreed to actually be interviewed by me for the film, but that was actually last year when I had contacted him, initiated that conversation. Then the pandemic hit in January or February, and then stay at home shelter shortly after. One thing I was thinking about doing was going to Sacramento even, and to potentially pick a fight with this Sacramento politician. I would have been nice at first, but I would have pushed them. I wanted to push people kind of like Michael Moore style and try to get them on record, or just, call them on their lack of advocacy around mental health care. I wanted to get that on film, but of course, like everybody else, officials weren't meeting in person.
Were there related topics you would have liked to include in the film but didn't?
Would have liked to explore the religious angle more in terms of how that affected my mom or played out in my mom's life, and how that plays out culturally. Religious people don't do a good job, and frankly, to be blunt, and understanding serious mental illness. What I've read and what I experienced myself in my own family with certain family members, a lot of religious people can end up blaming people that become sick with mental illness, blame them for their own plight and or situation, as if it was proof of them, losing their way or losing favor with God. And that's hard to hear and or know that people pass that kind of judgment. From my understanding, I know God healed mentally ill people, or at least one time in the Bible, he healed somebody who was mentally ill. And, part of that, I would have liked to have got into how does religion or Christianity deal with people who are mentally ill in a more effective way. My mom was a very devout Christian woman, and I know that my mom would have needed strong religious support, as part of her overall treatment plan, a sympathetic, supportive, preacher and or just leader, somebody she can rely on.
How has making your film impacted your healing from your mom's death?
That still remains to be seen. My healing, in some ways, and the pandemic didn't help, but in some ways, in a somewhat negative way, I would say, that is add to my depression or make me depressed. Because I had to, part of the filming process, the filmmaking process, editing process was, having to watch scenes over and over again. Then I also had to, and that was hard, seeing my mom suffer, moments of my mom suffering, had to watch it over and over again. And then I had to watch listen to the audio and watch the video that I had of my mom. And in regard to the audio, the part where I'm talking with the police, trying to get them to take her in, 5150 here, because she's a threat to her, danger to herself. I hadn't listened to that audio, since it happened, much of that audio since it happened. Especially the last part where I'm arguing with the police that are there. I didn't put that in the film, but I have that on audio where I'm arguing with them. And so I hadn't listened to that since that particular footage, since I took it. And that was hard. And it took me some time, and it affected me, I was very proud of myself and how I dealt with it, and that's a lot of that footage is helpful in that regard. Just hearing myself stand up for my mom, I knew I was doing a good job, but that confirms it too, that I was doing a good job or the best I can. So it's therapeutic in that sense, but it was hard doing it. It was pretty trying, actually. But now with the end product and given the response and knowing I did the best job that I could, I feel good about it. It's helped with the healing. People have told me it was a great tribute to my mom, a wonderful tribute, that they could see her strong spirit and her light in her through the film. That's what I wanted or was hoping for too. So yeah, that helps in my healing process. But it's ongoing. It's not as therapeutic probably as people think, actually. But I don't tell that to people because they don't want to hear that. But I'm telling you. So.